Hello, the Outlands. We are live again at Peering at the Defense. I'm Ian Raven, and this week I'm joined by my boss as KRM and someone who defines the phrase willowy yet dangerous, while at the same time working to buoy up all the fencers around her. Welcome, Mistress Dearbháil inghean Léoid.
Hello, thank you.
How we doing?
Having a great day.
Excellent, excellent. And so far our tech has been better today than it was last week. So that's a plus.
It was very disappointing last week, yes.
We were so set. We were ready. Nothing happened. So we're good now. And oh, I didn't even say my wonderful quip about the fact that you spend time reading my rapier martial reports and don't tell me that I talk too much.
Oh, they're great. Make my job super easy.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. So we figured we'd jump right in and start talking about similar set of questions that I had with Antoine last time. And you describe yourself as a high-level fencer, but also a dancer and a mentor. So talk to me more about your journey to be who you feel you are right now.
Well, my journey started back at the School of Mines when I was a high schooler, not a high schooler, a college student, running amok with other college students and just generally having a blast with them. And the competition amongst ourselves helped push us up. We challenged each other, motivated each other. I had some wonderful mentors to help me along the way. Picked up dancing. I've always loved dancing. And I think you can kind of see that in the way I fight.
Sure.
And the mentoring just kind of was a side effect of it. Being there, being awesome, wanting to help other people be awesome.
Cool. You also said something about wanting to to shut up naysayers.
That's true. I'm kind of stubborn and don't like being told what I can and can't do by random people. So when they tell me I can't do something, I say, yeah, you watch me. So
nice. And you were a protege.
I am, or I was, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a certain
I had to turn
bridge
it in
there.
when I stepped up as a Maestra Defense. So.
Yeah, that's. I've had a couple of cadets who have been very disappointed that I can't. You can't be my cadet anymore. You're a peer. I am not a peer, and I can't be above you as a. Okay, moving on. So you had said you joined in college. What brought you in? What kind of sucked you in, and what kept you coming back?
Well, I've been doing Renaissance festivals since I was really little, and so that initial European history aspect brought me in pretty quick. I also loved that it was just a full speed martial art that engaged my brain and my body at the same time. And I was able to go pretty much as hard as fast as I want to within safety rules and play my strengths to my opponent's weakness and bring the best game I had possible. There wasn't this overarching set of really stringent rules, like for example, there is with Olympic fencing.
Sure.
I can do more things. I can play, I can bait, and that engages my mind with my opponent. And I just found that really thrilling.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember doing something very similar and being brought in a very similar way and being shown rapier kind of right away and was handed an open swept hilt. I had been fighting Shinai enough to know how to stand and what kind of rules there were, but I'd not gotten any training with that. So the first thing they did was shoot straight down the blade and into the guard and shattered my left thumbnail.
Aww.
And I went, great, ow, okay, right-handed. He did the same shot down the blade and shattered my right thumbnail. And I said, hey, you know what? Fencing sucks.
Aww.
And never did it again. Well, until I moved to the East and they didn't have Shinai. So I was like, all right. But yeah, there's that sort of, I am being put into a combat situation with friends who are into the same sort of things, and it really, if you do it right, that just keeps you coming back and coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you look at what you've done, you own a whole bunch of weapons, and you've put together garb, and you own your own mask, and you're like, hey, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a friend comes up and says, hey, look at this cool thing I've got. And it's like, great, that looks fun. Let's do that. So I go out and buy one for myself so I can keep up with them. And now I have like 20 swords.
Yeah, that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated college with, what do we figure? I had 5 Shinai, and I had about 3 different pairs of gauntlets for various things.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of looked the part of generic SCA fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I was introduced to Rapier, and I was, oh yeah, see, I can really spend money here.
It took me a long time to get into clothes. I looked generic for a very long time.
Yeah, I had kind of the same problem, especially after I started fencing, because everything was a standard triplet jacket
Mm-hmm.
with stuff on top of it.
Yep.
I had the one armor that I wore for, I don't know, what, 4 years, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Black jeans, knee pads.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in the same gear until Mr. Sarcadia threw some new stuff at me. He said, I'm tired of looking at you. Put this on instead. So,
I mean, we could make fun of ourselves, but what we could really be doing is making fun of Alexander. Who, if I'm not mistaken, is still fencing in the purple jacket.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw him. Yeah.
I was like, how is that legal still? I have armor that isn't half that old and has fallen apart long before.
It's just the wah, I guess, holds it all together.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And the hair flip. I can't do the hair flip because I don't have the hair. Somebody was a stunt Alexander for an elevation that I saw, and that was basically, we have to understand, we got to set the scene. It's a guy with business hair going, words are very important. Okay.
Oh, that would have been amazing to see.
Oh, it really was. I mean, it was truly a thing to experience. And that's that thing that I looked at when I was joining. I was looking at people like that and saying, ooh, I want to have that kind of influence someday. I want to be that person that everybody knows. Mm-hmm. Because everybody around me at practice, and of course for 4 years, I didn't go to events. I only went to practices. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know what an event was. And people would talk to me about these, their night, or, Duke J or whoever. And I was like, well, these guys sound really cool. I hope to meet them someday. And I hope to be, at their level someday. And, that's the sort of thing that you start with. If you get that, fed to you properly, mm-hmm. that's another thing that keeps you going, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had always had a hard time balancing that, because I really don't like being the center of attention or being on stage. And you always hear these wonderful stories about people and their influence they have over each other. And like, on one level, I never really wanted that, because then I have to talk about, me and make those stories. And I was very intimidating.
Sorry. That's like what this is right here.
So,
who did you have? I mean, what were who were your people you were looking up to when you were starting?
Triffin. I don't know if you know Triffin. He's from.
I have met Triffin. Triffin's been fencing longer than I've been alive.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to be like him when I grow up. He's in his 60s now and still fighting. So
yeah,
it's really wonderful. And Jean-Eric is another one.
Who I don't know. I have not met Jean-Eric.
Yeah, he's had some medical issues and has been playing less, unfortunately. But he's out occasionally. and it's wonderful to get to play with him.
Excellent.
And that's really my two.
Oh, cool. All right.
Triffin, because no matter what you did, you always left the fight with a smile on your face. He was always positive, always encouraging,
Sure.
and pretty hot stick as well.
Oh, he kicked my butt at Candlemas. That was a hoot and a half. And then when I would get stuff to work against him, I was like, oh, see, now I feel really good about that.
Yep. And he would burst out laughing and be so happy that you got him. It was great.
Yes. Yeah. And it was neat to see him be able to balance something that I have a problem with, which is teacher mode and killer mode. Because you could almost watch him pop in and out of it, and he would pop out of it, and you're like, oh, see, now I can see his eyes. He thinks that was kind of, oh, I'm dead. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Jean-Eric had a similar one where he'd be toying with you, and I could just feel when he was done. It's like, I'm going to kill you now. Yeah, so I could see it coming like in slow motion and couldn't do a darn thing about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's always. I can't tell if that's exactly the best thing in fencing, but it's up there. It's one of those things that's just, especially when you can watch them do it to someone else. And it's so easy to see. And how am I not just being able to stop that?
Yeah, from the outside, it's like, well, just freaking parry and back up. And yeah, it doesn't work in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, because my two people that I had that I was looking at were, my Don and my other Don. Because I was cadetted to Dylan, but Dylan was not left-handed.
Okay.
Thomas de Castellan, on the other hand, left-handed. And the two of them come from a very, very deeply modern epee background, but had figured out, SCA stuff. De Castellan's wrists are mounted on gimbals, and they just spin. And he would do these things where he would just extend at you. And it didn't matter what you threw at it. You parry anything over here, whatever it is. And he would just kind of constantly disengage it. And he would just move inexorably closer to you. And then you were dead. And I watched that with mounting panic every time I fought him. And then I would watch him fight someone else and realize how simple what he did was. And oh, there's that thing. How come I can't see that from and just the difference between here and what he's actually showing you is so different. And it really was the thing that drove me to improve my basics game to the point where I could say, I count myself successful because I can beat de Castellan. And in fact, de Castellan ended up being the bye fight the year that I won Eastern Kings and Queens Rapier Champions. So I had to fight him because I had managed to, just fight my way out of my bracket. So I fought the bye fight, and he just came in with this kind of lackadaisical Thomas thing. And I went, oh, I know what to do with that. And I killed him. And he was utterly shocked. And that felt better to me than anything else that day. I mean, yes, it felt really good to win, but it felt much better to be able to say, I beat the guy who taught me to do left-handed, simple, sleazy tricks.
I remember the first time I made Don Tristan, who was my primary teacher, just back up in a tournament. I was just like, yay, I did something that he was threatened by and just didn't pass out of the mode. And just that thrill right there.
Yeah, and knowing Tristan the little that I do, I could see where that would be very impressive for you, because I've done it once myself, and I was so excited that was the split second he killed me.
He eventually killed me in that particular tournament, yes, but yeah.
I mean, it was oh gosh, what was that? It was Sordid Affair. It was the first one that I had gotten to, and I was so excited to be fencing. And I'm like, Tristan, I've fenced Tristan before. I do not remember him being this fast. And I think that was because I was an out of kingdom guy, and he was being nice.
Well, he's a lot faster than he looks like. So.
Oh my gosh, he's a lot faster than he is.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I can see where that would be a wonderful yardstick to measure yourself against and say, I can get him to backpedal a moment. Now what?
Mhm. Yeah, I was so happy. I was like, yay. And then like kind of brain farted and he probably hit me in the face. But yeah.
Let's see. So I think I've got, now you had talked about playing to your strengths.
Yes.
Talk to me about a little bit more there. Because I know what I think of that, but I
Mhm.
wanted to see what you were going for with that.
Well, there's a million different ways to hold your sword and try to stab somebody. And as we go along our path, we find stuff that works better for an individual than another. I never found the idea of just push the person's sword away and hit them in the face. That doesn't really work for me. I like to be a lot more deceptive and tricky and play with my food more.
Sure.
And so in a tournament match, I'm going to play the best card I think I have against my particular opponent. And that can change from opponent to opponent. So I know that you like close fighting, where I do now because you just told me that.
Sure.
So I say if I play close to close, there's a good chance you're going to kill me. So I'm going to do everything I can to stack the odds in my favor, which are to play a different game. Or other people I know who just freak out when you get in their space, which is really fun to do, just to watch them panic when you jump down their shorts. So having those choices I can make, just kind of whatever I feel like doing right now, it's just mentally stimulating and it's really fun.
Nice. And you had mentioned that you like to have a lot of different fencing styles in your quiver, as it were, and that you like to use them sometimes almost all at once.
Yep.
What sort of styles do you feel you have studied enough to say you've really got down?
I'm doing the tiger style, gigante, and a modern French style.
Okay.
With a splattering of a bunch of other stuff mixed in. But those are my three.
Sure. We had a number of people who went to a couple of K-Wars and did some gigante study that we all agree we were not prepared for yet. We were not ready for that. Some of it has stuck, and some of it was just such a high level of period concept that we couldn't grasp it. I know there are certain things that I still do that come directly from that one massive class we were all in. And I know that there are a bunch of people who go to my old practice who do the same thing, but we all have varying levels and little pieces of that. I really highly respect people who have managed to study gigante enough to understand it past the level of, if you do it right, your thighs hurt.
Sure.
We had so many people who were we spent 3 hours at one point having an argument about what does this mean to lunge by pushing your center of gravity down rather than moving forward. And I still bet that there's 80% of us who don't grasp that concept.
Well, a lot of it's, how did you first learn to lunge and move forward? That's going to dictate how easily it is for you to learn a new thing, because our body likes repetition, likes predictability. So you try to teach us something new. It's like, I don't want to do that with that lunge.
Right. Well, and I think it helps also if you understand what kind of student you are. I have to understand what I'm trying to do before I can do it. And if I don't understand the mechanics you're trying to convince me about with that lunge, I can't work at forcing myself into it.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I'm still not sure I grasp what he was getting on about with that lunge, because my lunge is, at its heart, a modern épée lunge.
Yep.
Because that's
what my French in my lunge a lot.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's fine. I was kind of interrupting you there. So,
That's the beauty of what I've found with 133 is I could not have picked that up 20 years ago when it was first shown to me, because I had to have the intervening 20 years of understanding just other mechanics. And now I can go back and I can look at this stuff with the lens of that much experience and say, oh, well, I understand what we're getting at there. Let me see if I can work out that mechanic.
mm-hmm.
And I can get it to work now.
Yeah, a lot of those books, it's the frustrating part about trying to learn from them is they assume that you've been in the world and you know how the basic things work. So they don't spell out the simple mechanics and the little details that we're missing in our modern era. So they say do a lunge. Well, what does that mean?
Correct. Well, and the thing that a lot of, I've just had this conversation online within the last week is the books were, it was your textbook. That was what you were handed when you went to classes with this person. You weren't just studying out of a book. You were going to this person's cell. You were learning what they were teaching. And there was a lot of that went into that before you even got to the stuff that they wrote down. And if you don't understand that, you spend a lot of time spinning your wheels because, they don't talk about some of that stuff because you should know it already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes studying very hard.
Yeah. Even Capoferro, who is one of the more wordy practitioners of book writing,
mm-hmm.
didn't talk about stuff that he would have gone over in his early classes with students who were getting to the point where they could start with what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's one of the first books I picked up. Which actually put me off to him for a long time because I tried to learn from those books and couldn't get anywhere with them because I was a brand new fighter. I didn't know anything about it. I had a train of thought going with that, and I've lost it.
I have a similar story with Saint-Didier, because Saint-Didier was one of the first ones that we were able to access in English. But this is 5 years ago now, and we were brand new students, and we've got our épées, and some of us had figured out how to use a dagger, and others of us knew there were other forms, and we started looking at this book and going, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? It's idiocy. And it wasn't until a few years later when we had good rapier simulators
mm-hmm.
that anything that book talks about made any sense. Because
once you pick up a long blade instead of that short blade, the mechanics are just so different and stuff clicks.
Yeah, and if you're going to hold your rapier here and your dagger here with the point going this way, and you look at that and you're going, that's my defense. And you're going, against what? Because if the person you're fighting has an épée, they just kind of go, and they hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried real hard. And Natalia, bless her heart, tried real hard to figure out how to get to us. But I don't think even she understood quite how that would function until we got those heavier swords.
That's one of the reasons why shifting between those styles is so fun too, because people like to put you in a box and they say, oh, you're fighting Capoferro or you're fighting Gigante. That means when I push this button, you're going to respond this other way.
Right.
And when you respond to something completely different, but still very effective, people just kind of go, oh my God, what's going on? And hopefully it gets a spark of thought and fun, and let's play now. Sometimes I get really mad, and that's not so fun. But well, I've been yelled at. It wouldn't have happened in period that way. I'm like, I don't want to die, so yeah.
I have a counter argument for that, and I'm like, tell me why. Why not? Why would that have not happened in period? Because people did travel, and people did get the influences. If you're going to run into somebody in the street and say, hey, how did you do that thing? And be introduced to somebody else's fencing master, I think it would have been, certainly not in the books that we have left, but it would have been what you saw outside of the schools, just like you do now, where you take any 6 people and train them in Olympic épée style. They're not all going to fence exactly the same way, especially if their teachers had different understandings of what makes it effective.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, what works for them is what they're going to teach.
Sure.
So,
I mean, I like to have some things to know that, okay, this works for me, but I don't know that this is going to work for you. Let's try something else. But knowing that the book was kind of like an advertisement for the actual classes just makes it so much easier to get into the concepts and go find somebody who says, hey, do you understand what I need to know to get to this part? Because I don't yet, and it doesn't make any sense. And that's what I think is great about the SCA Rapier community, is as we've gotten that access, and as we've gotten people like you, like me, coming up with whatever we were doing, keeping us involved, and you run into somebody who does understand what we're trying to do with that more period form, you can start to say, aha, all right, this is what I was missing. You know, I'm going to pretend I don't know anything. Please teach me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's one of my favorite things to do, is have somebody kill me really pretty and just go, that was great. What did you do?
Yes. That's one of the, when you go to the campfires afterwards and you're talking about it and you talk about these wonderful kills, those are exactly what they are. It's not the perfect execution of period technique and stuff. It's what you did that was memorable, that made people's day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or in this kingdom, since we have the fallen snow, who died better than who else? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who don't remember who I fought at Penzic last time I was there, but they do remember that I died because I'm good at it.
I've never been good at that because I'm kind of usually a little angry when I die because I messed up for the most part. So like, oh, I'm supposed to die now and put some theatrics in it. Yeah.
The thing I found that helped the most was, hey, move to another kingdom and die a lot. I had no business beating any of y'all because I live on a mountain and had no practice and hadn't fenced in 3 years or 2 years when I started coming back out. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I was getting anywhere with anybody, the fact that I could set Gianni back on his heels was just, that was neat. And the fact that he was going to nail me because I stopped to go, hey, that's neat. Mm-hmm. Well, now I have to figure out how to die well. And that was a huge boon because, like you said, normally I don't like dying. I don't like losing. It's not my job. Mm-hmm. My job is to remove you from my field.
Yeah. Or even if I'm fighting with someone who's newer or not really caring about how I perform in the tournament, I'm so happy for them that they managed to do a thing or whatever. I still forget that I'm supposed to die. So yeah.
Right. It's yes. Good. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a question from our audience. Maestra Elena would like to know, what's your favorite style and what comes most naturally?
My favorite style is a short sword and dagger, or just empty hand short sword. By short sword, I mean a schlager is about 34 to 36 inches long. I like that because there's a lot of room for me to mess up and fake it with my footwork and my body positioning. So
absolutely.
I can get in closer than I'm supposed to. I can over parry and still be able to recover from it because the swords are shorter and faster, and because I can have more options with my geometry. And on the flip side, it allows me to get people giggling really well because I get them in places that they didn't expect to be. And it can be very fast. That's fun too.
That is the best. Like we were talking before we went live, the southern region of the East Kingdom, absolutely 100% agrees with you.
Hmm.
And short weapons are all over the place there. And there are some really wild things that happen when you stop fighting with anything that's a yard long and now it's only 30 inches long. And you get stuff that you couldn't pull off with a long weapon, like a 40. Master Pasquale's under the leg shot that he can hit you in the chest with. Because he just kind of reaches underneath himself and hits you, and you wonder how. And the first couple of times he did it to me, I was usually just going, "Hey, that's a really cool move. Oh, I should probably have defended against
I
that."
should parry that. Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a couple times in with my offhand, gotten the person's sword like wrapped behind their head, and when they go to clear it, they end up like cutting their own head, which I find absolutely hilarious.
That's possibly the best thing to do.
And they usually giggle, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you find that that's what comes most naturally, is that kind of, getting in close and playing?
Yeah. Because I have pretty good body awareness and good balance. And so I can really get in close and supposed to and take advantage of that. So I can see that you're out of balance and I'm not. And so I can press.
Okay, cool.
And it allows me to take more risks and still be safe.
Do you feel that that is enhanced by your your love of dancing?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I have more flexibility in my hips. I can get away with stuff that I've been told is amazing by other fighters that I just do. So
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I just did that.
Yeah. So yeah, because I'm a belly dancer. The hips do the thing, and it just happens. So
yeah, one of the photographs that you sent me is very clearly there are some vectors going on with parts of your body that just should not be. You start to wonder, okay, did something happen in the download? Is that picture shifted? No, that's what she's doing. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that, when I eventually started playing with an actual manual, I went to Palace Armada, which is very, very late and stupidly out of period for a 14th century gentleman. But it is, you can see the through line from Palace Armada through to modern epee just by the descriptions of the guards and the positions he wants you to take. They're very much generic SCA fencer once you get past your modern stuff. But if you read his prologue, he talks, the author, we don't know the gender of this person, we don't know who it is. The author speaks of, your basic stance. Your feet should be in the shape of a large Roman L, as in dancing. And there's about 8 different references in that prologue to as in dancing. And I actually spent probably a good couple of months trying to figure out what the hell he was talking about, and finally went to somebody who has a Kingdom Award for dancing and said, what? And we found, after a good bit of somebody who understands dance research digging, that what he's talking about is Balat. It was an English court dance that you did if you were in the court of Elizabeth. It was the forerunner of modern ballet. You can see it in the positions, in the things you would do from there, but it was for the men of the court to show off their shapely calves. And it was, since you had to be a courtier, you had to know how to dance and to fight, this was a manual that combined them, but it assumed a lot on your knowledge of dance. So if you didn't have that, some of what he's talking about is inscrutable. So again, I had to have somebody who was excellent with researching dance come and talk to me and teach me that level of stuff before I could even get back to understanding what he was doing with a sword.
Sounds like I should look him up. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I have a link I can send you. The Gentleman's Armory, or Palace Armada, is a kind of a fun book, and you'll get a lot of, you'll have accidental insight into why Ian does the things he does. Okay, we have another question, and that is, do you remember the first tournament that you won? And what was it? And if not, what's your most memorable win or loss? And that is from Lady Elizabeth Winter.
Hi, Winter. She's my provost.
Oh, good. It's just cheating like last week. Okay, cool.
I didn't tell her I was doing it, so yay. My most memorable wins actually was when I won the Protector of the Queen's Heart. That was the first time I feel like I really solidly beat Don Tristan, who was my mentor. It was also a first time I really did well in a bear pit, because I hate bear pits. So it was a really combination of a bunch of life goals I really had for myself. It was like a 50 or 60 man pit, and then they pulled the top 8 into a finals bracket.
Well, that sounds absolutely thrilling, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was on edge that entire fight, and my mental game was there, and he was doing the exact same thing to me because he really wanted that tournament too. So I kind of feel bad for killing him, but yay.
Yeah, you can't. You did what you did, and you fought to get that. Yes, I'm sorry I did that to you, but you can't feel sorry for that, because that's what somebody like Tristan training you would want you to do to them.
Yeah, he was thrilled, and took me out for pizza afterwards. It was great.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I've won tournaments before that, but it was more like I was trying to accomplish a thing, and I don't remember the individual fights themselves.
I would have to say I have I mean, it's bizarre because it's a long time ago, but I have very clear memories of the first tournament that I won, which was a Baronial Champions. I had gotten somewhere. I had felt I was getting to a point where I was understanding what Dylan wanted me to learn, and I had to fight through a field of just the people that I knew were intense Southern region excellent fencers who had all come, none of whom were part of the barony, but all of them came to just take part in this thing. And it was in a gallery on Penn's campus. So it had, that 19th century kind of, this is what medieval halls looked like kind of thing, but it's made out of poured concrete and dark wood. But it had an upstairs balcony and just wooden floors and stonework. It was beautiful. And I recall having to get past my master's master.
Mm-hmm.
We doubled, so we had to fight again. He did exactly the same thing. I did not. I was like, look, I can learn. And I took a different step, and I moved my right hand weapon differently. And I was so pleased. He did not take it as well. He was really unhappy because he thought he should have gotten the shot that wasn't valid, that bounced on my head. And I'm going, we haven't even gotten to Schlagers yet. This is all epes still. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, that wasn't good. Now this one, on the other hand, bent in half on your chest, so I think you're going to take that. And then the finals were against my cadet sister. So I absolutely I have crystal clear being able to beat my cadet sister at her best form was the thing that helped me say I've arrived somewhere as a reasonable fencer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fighting your cadet siblings is tough because they've been training with you. They know your strengths and weaknesses sometimes better than you do. So.
Yeah, and Marion's no slouch. She was, absolutely received her golden rapier several years before I did, for good reason. And it was just, that's the sort of thing that, that has stuck with me. I have other tournaments I've won. That one's still the one that, I had to send photographs to people, and it was like, dear person who made my shoes, thank you very much. Here is photographs of me winning a baronial championship wearing them. Dear person who made my hilt, here is me winning a championship with your hilt. Oh, I think I wrote an email to the guy who made my tunic. I was like, dude, you gotta check this out.
Nice.
So, I mean, clearly that sort of thing is it's formative.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, that first time you beat your teachers?
We talked about the first time that I made Tristan back up. Arcadia was my Doña. I don't really remember the first time beating her because she's always been trying very hard to fight just a little bit ahead of where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like whenever I beat her, she just cranked it up and did it again.
I think the first actual time I beat Dylan, I had to have him be coming down with the flu, and I had to be at my absolute best at the time. And he brought Buckler. Like, come on, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I legged him. And I was like, yay. Crap, he's a smaller target now. And
Yep.
I worked at it and I worked at it and I worked at it. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who watched that pass that I, fight longer bouts now. Because it just took me forever. But I managed to win. And I was so excited. And it was one of those things where he takes me aside and he goes, good job. Of course, I'm going to go die now. It's like, oh, wait, did I win because you weren't at your best? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I had somebody else pull me aside and say, oh, I really loved what you did there. You did everything you had to do to get what you needed from him. And he is not a slouch.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked over something you were about to say. I apologize.
Yeah, I lost it now. It's all right. I remember the first time I legged Maestra Elena with her buckler and thinking that was a very, very bad idea. Because I don't remember who won or lost. I just remember it being a really long, drag out match at that point.
I understand that's what happens when you leg Gatlin. I made the mistake of doing that at Warders of the Western Gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a pain in the butt on his knees.
Yeah, I noticed. It's just a buckler and a sword. And you go, how do you even see me? But he's real dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Lord Gunstein Ragnarsson, local to my shire, would like to know what was your most memorable fight and where was it? Which I think is similar to, but not quite the same as, do you remember your first tournament win? Do you have a fight maybe wasn't that, but is a pillar of your memory?
I remember having a gypsy dagger fight, and I think it was one of those really, really rainy outlandishes. What was miserable, but we decided to do this tournament inside this tent, and what can we do with this really small space? I'm like, oh, let's do gypsy daggers. I don't remember who my opponent was at that point. But I do remember that I managed to get the rope that connects our hands wrapped all the way around his dagger and disarmed. And his dagger goes popping across and flying across the field and everything. It's just this glorious cut across him. It was really fun.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Non-standard thing.
That is not standard.
I wasn't trying to do it. I just noticed that, hey, he's wrapped up in the rope, and took advantage.
Yeah, we had that game that was introduced to us at our practice and then very quickly taken away from us because we all sort of realized that, oh, I can just kind of bind.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, it doesn't really work if you're left-handed versus right-handed. It was like, oh, sure it does. Watch.
Yeah, that's just not fair.
So we stopped being able to play that. They were like, give me the rope. Come on. Do you have anything else? What other fights would you say would be something that when somebody asks you about why do you fight comes immediately to mind?
I don't fight for the wins or the losses. I fight for the conversation we're having while we're dancing. Because I get to see, you at your best, you're trying to achieve this thing, and I'm trying to achieve this thing. So it's more the communication between the two fighters themselves and our body language and that relationship that I really thrive and I really enjoy more than who wins or who loses.
Okay. All right.
So I fought with you several times. I remember having a blast, but I really can't tell you what you did or what I did 6 months after the fact.
That was at Battlemore at the old site, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the last time I remember fighting you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of hoping we get to do a mod meet and beat again like that. It was really cool. Speaking as a non-mod at the time, that was kind of great.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember, I think I surprised you once, and the next time I came up against you, you were like, "No, that's enough of that."
Again, I like that losing thing. Let's not do that anymore. At least not the same way.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I'd like to try and not do the same thing again. And I think that's. I mean, people always ask us, what do you look for in people who are, ready to be what level award? That's one of those things that I've heard talked about the most is, can you, I can beat him every time, but do I have to beat him, can I beat him the same way?
Mm-hmm.
Plan B didn't work that time. Okay, great. Well, we're going to C. Okay, it doesn't have any defense against C. Does have a defense against D. Very nice to know. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that adaptability, watching people pull tricks out of their hats because they're getting desperate, and when plan A, B, and C didn't work. And
yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see, what do you have? What's your technical level of ability to survive plan G, plan
mm-hmm.
J?
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually where some of the best stuff, happens. Again, I had a fight that it was, I couldn't get my opponent to do anything, but apparently they were terrified. It was a big thing. It was it was front of Royals. They've spent most of their fencing career hearing about, this guy who happens to have the same name as me, and now they're fighting me. But I couldn't get them to do anything. Mm-hmm. So eventually, I lost that fight, but it was because I just started throwing different things in, saying, all right, I don't like any of what you've given me because it's the same thing. And I threw a different shot at you, and gave me the same thing. And you gave me the same thing. And mm-hmm. Let me see what happens if I push you. And eventually I got something different. And that was the one spot where I was like, oh yeah, I have that I don't have that parry. And mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. I did want to see what happened when I pushed you. I'm disappointed that we didn't have anything going on really that was, a conversation. Yeah, I'm a reactionary fighter, but I can make things happen if I have to. Mm-hmm. I like to see that kind of, come back. I want to see you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take it to Ian. Please do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come play, come dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a similar story of fighting a guy at Penzic, and was in front of the Royals in a big tournament thing. And it was like the weirdest fight I ever had. And because he wasn't moving right. He was nervous because he was so focused on, I have to win this match. And it took all the fun out of it.
So. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to know that this is, do you have somebody, do you know people that suck the fun out of a list field?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was somebody that I always tried to avoid fighting, because
mm-hmm.
this isn't, neither of us are gaining anything from this fight. I didn't enjoy it, and all you did was win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or the only benefit is that person's now out of the list and can't ruin anybody else's day. That's the best outcome for me.
Right.
So, because this is a hobby, we're supposed to have fun. Winning's fun too. That's great. We should do that, but that's not the end game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love fencing people who are like, hey, here's a thing. And I go, great, what happens if you do this? Oh, okay. All right. We're going to back up and we're going to try something else again and see, can I get you to do that again?
Mhm.
Uh, and it's so cool when it's people who are doing that to each other. Because, I fought Cretin at Penzik one year uh, as, I'm champion of the East, he's champion of the mid realm. And he comes out sword and dagger. I came out sword and shield. And he muscled my sword and then threw a shot. And I went, I can work with that. Can I get him to do it again? And I set up in my absolute favorite Palace Armada thing. And he did what I needed him to do. And I just kind of went, really? Okay. Wow, dude, you were so much closer than I was expecting you. And we talked about it later. I was like, look, I wanted to apologize. I hit you a little hard. He's like, no. It was great. I don't know why I tried to muscle you. I was trying to do something and, I wanted you to give me something. And instead what you did was the right answer and not what I wanted. And I went, oh, really? And we talked for another, 20 minutes about the fact that really both of us were desperately trying to do that salesmanship. I would like to give you this. Wouldn't you like to react to that? And I didn't buy what he was trying to sell. And he bit. I sold him something and he bought it. He bought a case of it.
That's very satisfying when you can measure and time someone just like that. And it's even great when they acknowledge that it was them who messed up so badly and that they need to adapt and overcome. Double bonus.
Well, I mean, it's not even like he wasn't already a warder and a laurel in fight research. It was definitely, I came out to do a thing, and your response to it was far better than what I was hoping you would do, because that would have been more useful to me. Like, yeah, all right, I'll take that. And the best part is you can hear on the video of that fight, the people from the East who knew me going, oh, no, all right, get a Snickers. It's Ian. You're not going anywhere for a while. Have a seat. And the whole fight takes 37 seconds. It was literally, he did his thing. I looked at it and went, I wonder if I can get him to do that again. I did, and I hit him. And everybody went, what? What am I supposed to do with the rest of this Snickers?
Kill him slower next time. Jeez.
Yeah.
Play it up.
All right. So we have, it looks like, about 5 minutes left.
Ready?
There's a good conversation. I really like that. What I wanted to ask before we closed was, I'm picking something from further down that list. What's something that you miss from before you were somebody?
I a lot of times miss just that pure fight and that conversation we get with fighters anymore. A lot of times I pick up a sword now, someone has something to prove to me, or feel like I have something to prove to them. Like they expect me to be this big, awesome fencer and I can't ever have a bad day or want to try a new thing. They're like, oh, I expect you to be better than that. Or they're coming with their best every single time. I'm like, I just want to mess around and have fun and giggle.
Sure.
And it's harder now. So,
see, and that's one of the things that I really like about your fencing is that's what I look for in fencing. Is all the time that I spent trying to be, I wanted to be a feared fencer. And then I realized that in that journey, what I had come up with was what I'd rather be is a fun fight. And yeah, all right. There's a certain degree of, I have watched my opponent lose the bout when the pairing was called. Because their name came up and they went, ah, yes. And then my name came up and they went, ah, no.
Yep, you won the tournament before you even got on the field.
Yeah, yep. But I also love having somebody go, oh my God, I get to fight Ian. This is great.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want. I want somebody to come out there going, oh, this fight I want. So there's
room for that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Say there's very high stakes. I really want to win this. You really want to win this. This is a high stakes tournament. I mean, that's a fun game and very thrilling too. But 90% of the time, it's not what I want to play.
Right. Right. And certainly at the highest level fencing tournaments that I have, been, any success in, the high level end bouts have been with people who are, this is a person who is my cadet cousin. They were cadetted to my cadet brother. This is a person who is in my household. This is a person who I came up with idolizing as, a leader in the community. And we've gone at it with that in mind. Yeah, we're both trying to get past this bout successfully, but the joy of, at this level, I get to fight my A+ game against your A+ game, and let's see what happens.
Yep.
And to watch people who are going, oh, all right, I was tired. I didn't bring you my best game. It's like, no, that was fun because we were both in it, and you overcame tired to even be there.
Even if that was the best that you're capable of at that point in time, we still learned something from it.
Yeah. And that's, if I can say anything to anybody about, the difference between this and not this, is that there isn't a difference in my level of attempting to learn things.
Correct. Yep.
I am still trying to further my knowledge and everybody else's around me. Just ask my student and watch the fact that I have thrown away my style of 25 years and decided to do something new during pandemic. I'm hoping I'm good enough at it by the time we start fencing again that people don't look at me and go, hey, I thought you were better than that.
Yeah, I want to be the best I possibly can be. And that means people around me being the best they can be, because without that challenge, I can't be better. And without bringing new stuff into my game, I can't improve. So. Exactly.
And that's kind of, that's the thrill of being, at where we are. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think that's wonderful. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is kind of start wrapping up here. I have really, really enjoyed this conversation with you. I hope everybody else watching has. I love a conversation like that where I realize I've lost about 3/4 of the questions I had written down because we didn't need them. I think that's wonderful. So what I'm going to say to everybody who is watching is thanks for watching, whatever this was. We're going to tell you to tune in tomorrow night for Finn's episode of Peering at the Chivalry, where he's going to interview, there we go. He's going to interview Tigger. A lot of people, I bet, might not even know he has a first name. I sure didn't. So that's tomorrow, April 6th at 6 p.m. I want to thank Dearbháil for being my guest tonight and having such a wonderful wealth of just neat ways to look at stuff. And I'm gonna say until next time, keep your guards up and keep the pointy end in the other person.